After my divorce, I made a decision. I was going to choose differently. I was going to see those red flags, name the patterns, and walk away. And for a while I did. And then I didn't. And I found myself in something so familiar, it stopped me in my tracks. Same dynamic, different man. And that was when God asked me a question I was not ready to answer. Today, I want to show you what I found and how that one question changed everything. I'm Katie Ann, and this is Beyond Believing. Whether you have dated since your divorce or you have decided love is simply not worth the risk right now, this episode is for you. Some of you are out there trying. You are doing the work, reading the books, setting the boundaries, and somehow you keep ending up in the same conversation with a different person. You are exhausted and a little ashamed of it. And some of you have decided never again. You closed the door, crossed your arms, and called it wisdom. And honestly, that is also a pattern, just a little quieter one. Both of you are in the same place. You just got there by different roads. Now, if you ask yourself, if I did everything right, why does it still feel the same? I want to tell you about a decision I made after my divorce. I sat down. I actually sat down and thought it through, and I made a list. The things I would no longer accept, the patterns I would recognize, the red flags that I had ignored. I was going to be different this time. And for a season, I really was. I said no to people I would have said yes to before. And I walked away from things that felt familiar in all the wrong ways. And I genuinely believed that I had cracked something. And then I met someone who checked none of those boxes on my list. And I still ended up in the exact same emotional place that I had been trying to leave. Same feeling, same dynamic, same quiet voice inside asking, how did I get here again? If you have been there, I want you to know something first. You are not broken. You are not bad at this. You are not someone who just keeps making the same mistakes because you don't care enough to change. The reason the pattern keeps repeating has nothing to do with your checklist, nothing to do with your standards, nothing to do with how hard you have tried. It has everything to do with what you believe you deserve. Not what you say you deserve, what you actually, in the quiet parts of yourself, believe you are allowed to receive. Those are two completely different things. And until that gap closes, the pattern doesn't break. It just shows up wearing a different face. Here is what I found when God asked me that question I wasn't ready to answer. I had changed my checklist. I had not changed my foundation. I was still building from the same belief about who I was and what I was worth. I had just gotten better at decorating all around it. And that belief, not the men, not the circumstances, not the timing, was the thing driving every single choice. So where does that belief come from? And more importantly, how does it actually change? Because I tried to change it on my own. And I want to tell you what happened. What is actually underneath the pattern for you? There is a passage in 2 Corinthians 6:14 that most women in this space have heard used as a dating rule. Do not be unequally yoked. And we interpret it as, make sure he goes to church. Make sure his faith is real. Make sure he is not a counterfeit. That is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Because here is what I have come to understand about that passage and what changed everything for me. Being unequally yoked is not just about his faith. It is about the gap between who God made you to be and who you believe you are allowed to be. You cannot be joined, truly joined, at the level that a covenant relationship requires with someone at a level of belief and wholeness you have not yet reached yourself. This is not a rule about who to date. It is a diagnostic truth about what is possible. If you believe underneath all your effort, on all your growth, that you are someone who gets left, you will find someone who leaves. If you believe you are someone who is too much or not enough or lucky to be chosen, you will find someone who confirms that. Not because you are weak, because the belief is the lens, and the lens shapes everything you see. I spent years trying to choose better men, and what God was asking me to do was become a woman who knew what she was worth. Those are not the same work. Changing the pattern doesn't start with changing who you choose. It starts with changing what you believe about who you are. And here is the thing about that work. You cannot do it by trying harder. You cannot do it by reading more, learning more, or building a longer list of standards, because it is God's work in you through the exact season you are in right now. Which brings me to the most unexpected thing that has happened to me in this season of healing. I want to tell you about a conversation I had with one of my very closest friends, because what came out of my mouth surprised even me. And what I realized a couple of days later changed how I understood all of this. Now, I have a friend I have known since I was 9 years old. The kind of friend who knows you so completely that there is nothing left to perform, nothing left to protect, and nothing left to hide. You can go months without talking and pick up exactly where you left off, like no time has passed at all. We were catching up recently, and I was telling this friend how deeply at peace I am right now, even in the singleness, which is a place I honestly never believed I would get to. I was not someone who was comfortable being alone, ever. I was not someone who knew what to do with quiet. And this friend knew that. And this friend specifically asked me, how are you going to meet the right person when you are ready? And I said, without even thinking about it, I'm not worried about it at all. And I didn't say it to sound spiritually mature. I said it because it was simply true. And after sitting with that answer for a couple of days, I realized something I had never fully understood before. I am not worried about how or when or who I am going to meet, because I know something now that I have never fully known before. God does not need my help making that happen. He might need my willingness, my surrender, my eyes open enough to recognize what he places in front of me, but he does not need my interference. He does not need my strategy. He does not need me anxious, scanning, managing, or arranging. And I want to be really honest with you, because I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, that sounds passive. That sounds like giving up. That sounds like someone who has decided just wait and hope. It is not that at all. What I have stopped doing is trying to control the things that were never mine to control. Who, when, and how. What I have not stopped doing is the work of becoming, the healing, the growing, the deepening of my relationship with God, the clarifying of who I am and what I carry into a relationship. Now, in my coaching, I call this God's control, the category of things we genuinely have no say or power over. Other people's choices, timing, outcomes, the weather, circumstances we did not create and cannot change. The pattern breaks when you stop trying to manage what belongs to God and start focusing on the only thing that actually belongs to you, who you are becoming. The reason you keep attracting the same man is not because you keep choosing wrong. It is because a part of you has not yet believed you are allowed to have something different. And the way that belief changes is not through more effort or better strategies. It changes through healing, real healing, the kind God does in you when you finally stop outsourcing the work to the next relationship and bring it to Him. When what you believe about yourself finally catches up to who God says you are, you will not need a checklist. You will know, because you will finally be able to recognize what it feels like to be seen fully and correctly. You are not someone who keeps making the same mistake. You are someone whose belief has not yet caught up to your worth. You are not behind. You are not too broken. You are not someone God has given up on finding the right person for. You are a woman being prepared, and preparation is not waiting. Preparation is becoming. Let Him do that work in you. He is very, very good at it. This is the work that I do in my coaching, not to be the answer, but to point you to the one who is, to remind you that you have access to everything you truly desire, and to help you begin living like it today. If that conversation is one you are ready to have, you can apply for coaching at coachkatieann.com/call. And next week, I want to talk about something that builds directly from here. Because once you understand why the pattern has been running, the next question is, what does it actually look like to prepare well? Not for a relationship, for yourself. That conversation is coming. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you then.